I'm standing in the ruins of a Roman fort. Stone walls, barely visible now beneath centuries of dirt and moss. A forgotten outpost in a hostile land. The soldiers who lived here were a long way from home. This place was called Mamucium, and beneath my feet, beneath these broken stones, beneath the car parks and glass towers that stand here now, lies one of the most extraordinary transformations in human history. This is Manchester, and this is the story of how a muddy Roman garrison became the city that changed the world. Picture this: the year is 79 AD. You're a Roman auxiliary soldier, shipped here from somewhere warm. Spain, maybe, or North Africa. You've marched across Gaul, crossed the Channel, trudged north through this cold, wet island until you reach the edge of the empire. This is it, your new home. A sandstone bluff where two rivers meet, the Medlock and the Irwell. The local tribes call it something that means breast-shaped hill. You call it the middle of nowhere. Your commanders call it strategic. From here, you can control the routes between Chester and York. From here, you can watch the frontier. So you dig in. Earthen ramparts first, wooden palisades. Then later, when it's clear you're not leaving anytime soon, stone walls. 500 of you maybe, living in a fort designed for control, for order, for Rome. Outside the walls, a civilian settlement grows. The Romans call it a vicus, a few hundred people at most. They build a bathhouse, a mansio, a kind of inn for official travelers. They make pottery, they grind grain, they survive. But this is frontier life, cold, wet, far from the Mediterranean sun, far from anything that feels like civilization. And then, in 410 AD, Rome collapses, the legions withdraw, the empire abandons Britain, and Mamucium, this little outpost at the edge of the world, is left to fend for itself. The stone buildings are pillaged, the roads crack, the infrastructure crumbles. For centuries, this place almost disappears. Almost. Fast forward to 1086. The Domesday Book records a settlement here, part of the manor of Salford. A few hundred people maybe, wooden buildings, agricultural land, mud, so much mud. The rivers flood constantly. The surrounding landscape is marshland. If you lived here, you worked the land, you served a lord, you survived. But something is changing. In 1222, the king grants permission for Manchester to hold a market, and that market becomes a meeting place, a crossroads, a place where wool from the Lancashire countryside is traded and sold, slowly, quietly. Manchester begins to specialize, cloth making, small scale at first, home-based, families spinning wool in their cottages, weaving fabric on hand looms. But it's enough to build a little wealth, enough to fund a grammar school in 1515, enough to turn a muddy market town into something more. By 1650, there are maybe 5,000 people here. And then cotton arrives. Cotton fabric, imported from India, becomes fashionable in Britain. Light, breathable, beautiful, but expensive. So British merchants see an opportunity. Why import finished cloth when we can import raw cotton and make it ourselves? The cotton comes from plantations in the American South and the Caribbean. Plantations worked by enslaved Africans, bought and sold in a triangular trade that connects Britain, Africa, and the Americas in a chain of exploitation and profit. British manufactured goods to Africa, enslaved people to the Americas, cotton, sugar, tobacco, back to Britain. And Manchester is perfectly positioned. Lancashire's damp climate turns out to be ideal for cotton manufacturing. The moisture in the air keeps the threads from breaking, and the rivers, those same rivers that flooded the medieval town, can now power machinery. At first, it's still a cottage industry, families with spinning wheels and hand looms. But then come the inventions. 1764, James Hargreaves creates the spinning jenny, allowing one worker to spin multiple threads at once. 1769, Richard Arkwright develops the water frame, powered by water wheels. 1779, Samuel Crompton combines the two into the spinning mule. And suddenly, everything changes. The first cotton mills rise in the 1780s and 1790s. Multi-story brick buildings, steam-powered, employing hundreds of workers, machines that never stop. Production on a scale never seen before. By the 1830s and 1840s, Manchester and surrounding towns produce most of the world's cotton goods. They call it Cottonopolis. People say, what Manchester does today, the world does tomorrow, and they're right. But let me show you what that transformation actually looked like on the ground. Imagine you're a worker in 1840s Manchester. You live in a back-to-back terrace house in a narrow court. Your entire family shares a single room. There's no sanitation, no clean water. The streets are open sewers. You wake before dawn. You work in the mill for 12, 14, maybe 16 hours a day. The air is thick with cotton dust. You breathe it in. Your lungs burn. Accidents are common. Machines don't stop for fingers or limbs. If you have children, children, they're probably in the mill with you. 5, 6 years old, small enough to crawl under the machines to fix threads or clean debris. Disease spreads easily here. Tuberculosis, cholera, rickets in the children from lack of sunlight. In the 1840s, the average life expectancy in Manchester is 25 years. 25. Friedrich Engels, a young German philosopher, walks these streets between 1842 and 1845. He documents what he sees: families living in cellars, in darkness and damp, children with twisted bones, workers coughing blood. This is the price of progress. This is what it costs to become the workshop of the world. But the wealth is real. By the 1870s, Manchester is the 6th largest city in Europe. The population has exploded from 70,000 in 1801 to hundreds of thousands by mid-century. Victorian warehouses line the streets. Cotton merchants build mansions. The city is rich beyond measure. And then comes the test. In 1861, the American Civil War begins. The Union blockades Confederate ports. Cotton stops arriving. The Lancashire cotton famine. Mills close. Hundreds of thousands lose their jobs. Families starve. The city that built itself on cotton is brought to its knees. But here's the thing. The workers of Manchester could have pressured their government to break the blockade. They could have supported the Confederacy to save their own livelihoods. They don't. Instead, they support the Union. They support abolition, even as they starve. Abraham Lincoln writes them a letter, thanking them for their sacrifice. Today, there's a statue of Lincoln in Manchester's Lincoln Square, commemorating that choice. The cotton slowly resumes after 1865, but the damage is done. The industry never fully recovers. By the early 20th century, competition from American and Japanese mills is fierce. Indian independence movements boycott British cotton. The dominance slips. After World War II, the mills close one by one. Jobs vanish. The city that made the modern world is left behind by it. Let me take you back to another moment. August 16, 1819. 60,000 people gather at St. Peter's Field in the heart of Manchester. Maybe 80,000. Peaceful. Families. Workers. They're here to demand parliamentary reform, to demand the right to vote. Despite being one of England's largest cities, Manchester has no members of parliament. Most working people have no voting rights at all. The magistrates panic. They order the arrest of the Speaker, Henry Hunt. The yeomanry, a part-time cavalry force, charges the crowd. Sabres flash. 15 people are killed. Over 600 are injured. The organizers are arrested and imprisoned. The event becomes known as the Peterloo Massacre. It galvanizes the reform movement. It becomes a symbol of state violence against ordinary people demanding their rights. And it reminds us that this city's story is not just about cotton or industry. It's about power, about who has it, who wants it, who fights for it. September 15, 1830, the world's first modern passenger railway opens between Liverpool and Manchester. George Stephenson's locomotive, the Rocket, travels at 30 miles per hour. The journey that once took a full day by canal now takes less than 2 hours. It's a triumph, except on opening day, a member of parliament named William Huskisson steps onto the tracks at the wrong moment. He's struck by the train. He dies hours later. History's first railway passenger fatality. Progress is never clean. The 20th century brings more transformation, more tragedy. World War I. The PALS battalions, groups of men from the same neighborhoods who enlisted together, suffer horrific casualties. Entire streets lose their young men. World War II. The Manchester Blitz, December 22nd and 23rd, 1940. German bombers target the city. Over 600 people are killed. Thousands of buildings destroyed or damaged. The historic center is gutted. The city rebuilds. But the post-war years are hard. The textile industry continues its decline. Warehouses sit empty. Unemployment rises. In the 1960s, slum clearances demolish the Victorian terrace housing. They replace it with tower blocks and concrete estates. The intent is good. The execution is often brutal. By the 1970s, Manchester feels like a city in decline. And then, slowly, it begins to reinvent itself. The universities, the University of Manchester and Manchester Metropolitan, educate over 100,000 students combined. The BBC relocates significant operations to Media City, UK in Salford Quays, turning old docklands into a media quarter. Tech startups and creative agencies move into the converted warehouses. The financial district rises in spinning fields. The population grows. Today, Manchester proper has around 630,000 people. Greater Manchester, over 3 million. It's Britain's second largest conurbation. Over 40% of the population is under 30. But the inequality is stark. Some neighborhoods are among the most deprived in England. Homelessness is visible. The wealth gap is growing. And in May 2017, the city faces a new kind of trauma. A terrorist terrorist attack at the Manchester Arena kills 22 people after an Ariana Grande concert, many of them children. The city mourns, but it also comes together. The worker bee, Manchester's symbol since the Industrial Revolution, representing industriousness and community, appears everywhere, on tattoos, on murals, on t-shirts. We are Manchester. I'm standing in the city centre now. The old Roman fort is long gone, buried beneath centuries of history, but you can still see the layers if you know where to look. The medieval cathedral, the Victorian town hall with its murals depicting the city's history, the John Rylands Library, neo-Gothic, built in 1900 to house rare books and manuscripts, the canals that once carried cotton, now lined with bars and restaurants. Manchester is a city that has reinvented itself over and over, from Roman garrison to medieval market town, from Cottonopolis to a city in decline, from decline to rebirth. It's a story of transformation, of resilience, of ordinary people enduring extraordinary hardship and choosing again and again to build something new. The workers who starved during the cotton famine but still chose to stand for abolition, the reformers who gathered at Peterloo, the communities that rebuilt after the Blitz, the city that mourned together after the arena attack. This is what Manchester does. It survives, it adapts, it remembers. What Manchester does today, the world does tomorrow. And maybe that's still true. If you made it this far, I'd love to know what part of this story surprised you most. Drop a comment below. And if you want more deep dives into the cities and moments that shaped our world, hit subscribe. There's so much more to explore. Thanks for walking through history with me. This is Marcus, and this is Manchester.